So today in the sky, I was looking in the sky and the sun, it was looking so pretty. It wasn't like beaming crazy. It wasn't like shining to where I couldn't look at it. It was so like pretty. I wish I would have took a picture of it. And when I was looking at it, I noticed like the clouds was like creating this shape around it, which made the sun look like an eye. And it just made me feel so good inside. Like, it just made me feel so good inside. And oftentimes when I look at the things that God creates, it just reminds me of how much He loves all of us and how God is in everything, even in, nature and arts. And it also made me think of how people could see things differently than you. People could see the world differently than you. Everyone can perceive things differently. Everyone can perceive a certain image or a certain way of living differently than you, right? But it's all like this, we all have this universal understanding. I would think that we all have a universal understanding that there is a higher power. Some choose to go against the higher power, and some choose to fully embrace the higher power. One of the things that I realized though is that no matter what type of religions any of us practice, no matter what type of spiritual practices anybody practices, no matter if you are a judge and you sit up and, you judge people and bring them to, final judgment of going to jail. No matter if you're somebody who's a preacher and you preach the word of God, you could be a preacher and people could rely on you to help them be saved. A position of power. It doesn't matter what thrones God may put us at, right? Or positions we may put ourselves at. We all have to answer to God. We all have to answer to God. No one is exempt from answering to God. And the best thing we could do in order to represent ourselves well is to do it in front of the eyes of God. Because God will always see what you're doing. And we're coming back to the eye in the sky. The best way to fully connect with God is to only look for God's validation of who you are, because you will always feel contradicted within yourself if you're doing something wrong, right? So regardless of what we may say to one another, regardless of what we may feel is less or a sin or worthy of being convicted of, right? At the end of the day, that person and the people who may feel like they are in power have to sit with themselves at the end of the day. Regardless, you always have to sit with yourself at the end of the day, right? So, yes, people can say certain things. People can be false prophets. People can falsely judge you, but God will always get the final judgment. Okay? So when you're walking in that direction of knowing that God is your first seer, God is really looking at the soul though. Like if we really want to get technical, God is looking at your soul. And I'm a true believer that God may put you through certain things, but if you make a certain mistake along the way and you fix those mishaps that He's trying to teach you, right? He will forgive anybody. Sometimes people go through losing their lives in order for God to really be like, okay.
Losing their lives or like an ending to something, like an ending can also represent death. It doesn't always have to represent physical death, but sometimes God will bring drastic endings to bring like a big awakening or a big release. Removing certain things can sometimes free you. Sometimes it's the only way for the scales to be balanced